How are you guys? Good? You excited? I'm excited too. Today I want to talk about encouraging everyone to be the Rockstar Professor. All right? What I mean by that, I don't mean rockstar as an adjective, as in be the great professor, be an awesome professor. You should. But what I mean is if you desire to be on stage, if you desire to tour, to write music, to play music, to be in the studio, to sign fans' autographs, do it. But if you also desire to teach, whether it be music or math, you should teach as well. Because I really believe that all of us have so many things inside of our hearts, more than just one. We have more than just one dream, more than just one goal, more than just one passion. And I think it's so important for all of us to really follow that, to follow those dreams and those passions, right? In my opinion, I believe success is defined as being fulfilled, living a fulfilled life. And in order to live that fulfilled life, we have to know the things that are inside of our hearts, and we have to follow those things with massive action. We have to take massive and incredible action towards those things. It's so important for us to do this, for us to live the success life that we all want to live. Many times, many of us, we work in positions that we sort of don't enjoy, or we spend so much time doing things that we don't like. We don't listen to the things inside of our hearts, and we spend most of our time doing this. Most heart attacks happen Monday mornings because people are stressed about the jobs that they dislike, or maybe even the jobs that they hate. So I want to encourage everybody to take what I call a dream inventory, to find the things that really get them going, that really wake them up, that really get them excited, and to pursue them with incredible and massive action. Now, in pursuing that, you're going to come against some obstacles, and maybe even your past is your obstacle. And I want to share some stories from my past. One of my earliest memories was watching my mom slit her wrist. I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. And luckily, my grandma grabbed the knife from her in time for there not to be damage. There was minimal damage to her, a little bit of damage to me. After that, I'm 7 years old, and I made a vow to myself never to get my hopes up. Because when I would get my hopes up, I was always let down. So imagine that, a 7-year-old making this proclamation, this vow. I'm never going to get excited about anything because I'm always let down. That sucks. Why did this happen? You know, my mom, though she intended well and she wanted to give me all these things, she would build me up, but she wouldn't be able to deliver. She would want to take me to Chuck E. Cheese on Wednesday night and say we were going to Chuck E. Cheese on Wednesday night, but we would never go to Chuck E. Cheese on Wednesday night. She would, say she was going to get the video game after school, but she wouldn't get the video game after school. Empty promise after empty promise. It really created this insecurity. From there, she would tell me that I was overweight, that I had acne, all these things, when the only thing on the dinner menu was pizza or Wendy's. So when I was 15, she told me something else. She said she was moving to California. We lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I was born and raised. And it was sort of a sigh of relief because we really didn't get along all that well. So she left, and I moved in with my aunt. Her name was Donna. I called her Aunt Do. She's the greatest person I've ever known in my life. So beautiful, and just her personality was just magnetic. It was electrifying. It was incredible. Everyone who was around her wanted to be around her all the time. And Aunt Do would bring out the sinner in any saint. She was hilarious. So funny, mouth like a sailor, 4-letter words, but everybody was welcome. Everybody felt at home when they were with Aunt Do. And she taught me what it was to have a home. She taught me about love and about accepting and about, so wonderful that laughter can bring people together and how wonderful it is to be together with people. And she taught me all these things. My greatest fear was to lose her. That was always something that I even said to her. I said, you can never die because I love you so much, and I won't be able to figure this thing out without you. You're the strongest person I know. You always have the right answer, so you're stuck. No dying on me. One day, my fear came to life. As many fears sometimes do. It came to life. She was diagnosed with cancer It was terminal, it had spread, it was metastatic, and she was going to, in fact, die. So I visited her in the hospital. She still looked the same. She just had a hospital robe on. And she introduced everybody in the room to the physician, and she said, "This is my, daughter Vicky and my son Nick. This is my niece Kim." And she grabbed my hand and she smiled and she said, "This is my baby Mark." A couple weeks after that, I got a call and said, "Mark, you got to come to the hospital. Anto's dying." So I get to the hospital, standing next to the bed. I stand over her and I say, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have given into that depression. I would have given into that insecurity. I wouldn't be a courageous individual thinking that I can do anything." She instilled a lot of that in me. And she looked at me and she smiled, even though she was terribly ill and in pain and weak and sick. She looked at me and she smiled and she said, and she grabbed my hand and she said, "Mark, don't cry. I'm going dancing." After that, she took her last breath. Soon after that, she took her last breath and she moved on. Up until that point, that was the hardest thing I'd ever had to deal with in my life. I couldn't stay at that house anymore. I have wonderful, beautiful, incredible friends that took me in. I was allowed to stay with them, and that's what I did. And also, I started a band, because music was always my thing. That was always my escape. Though me and my mom had a terrible relationship, and now that relationship has in fact changed. People change after a long time. The stories that I'm sharing are greater than 20 years old. People change in 20 years, and I assure you she has. Our relationship has. But music was my escape before she changed. And during those times, music was what I loved. It's what I did. So this isn't my first time on stage. I'm not uncomfortable being on stage. In fact, if you would look at me then, a few years ago, I didn't have a shirt on. I was running around sweating and screaming everywhere because I was screaming in a heavy metal band. With the band that I started with my best friends, we played shows everywhere. We signed autographs. We had CDs. We had music distribution through iTunes, and we got to play Warped Tour. We got to be on an incredibly huge stage outside playing to thousands of people. Of all those people, the ex-girlfriend that broke up with me 2 weeks before was in the crowd. So that was wonderful on my part. I think Frank Sinatra said the best revenge is success, and that was it. So the band was huge and I loved it. Also about the same time, after playing with the band for a few years and really pursuing that and loving that, I met my dad. I had an opportunity to meet my dad. I was 22 years old. And he reached out to me, and he ended up being a really great guy. And he said, "You can come live with me in my castle-like mansion, and I'll pay for school, and you don't have to pay any rent, you don't have to pay anything. I'm going to come, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to help you out, if you want this." I really wasn't all that interested in school. I hated high school. I failed geometry 3 times. I only cared about music. That was my escape. That was my love. That was my passion. That was what I was good at. That is what took all that pain away when I was a kid. So I was only focused on music. The thought lingered, but I continued on with my band. We were set to go to New York City to record our first full-length album with a real-life producer who worked for a real-life record label who was going to connect us with a booking agent to put us on a real-life tour. This was the next step for In the Wake. This is what we needed to do. Some of the guys didn't see it that way. They wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. They didn't want to take the risk and go to New York City and doing these things. So I saw that as an opportunity, and maybe you can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it life, saying something's different now. You need to try a different avenue. So I was aware of that, and I tried a different avenue, and I tried out school. So I'm training a guy in a gym. I say to him, I'm going to be great at everything. I'm going to be great at English. I'm going to be fine with science. Math, though, I'm definitely going to fail it. I hate math. There's no way I'm going to do well with math. Impossible. Without missing a beat, he says, "Yep, you're definitely going to fail it." I said, "Thank you for the motivation." He said, no, you already spoke it into existence. You already spoke it to life. You've already set yourself up to fail because you're not going to do it. He said, if you change your attitude from I hate this, I'm never going to do it, I can't do it, to I'm challenged by this, you're going to see different results. That same semester, I was tutoring students in math. Later on, I became a math tutor for the college, and then I became the most sought-out tutor for math, chemistry, and biology, the trifecta of difficult when you're in college. What I learned from that was if you change your perspective, you'll change your path. And that's what I did. And I also recognized that the passions and the dreams and the desires and things inside of your heart change, too, over time. It's also what I realized during this portion of my life. So I graduate, I have a degree in biology, and the department head for the math department comes to me and says, are you Mark Craven? I say, yeah. He says, a lot of people like you. Do you want to teach? I said, sure. That's how I was hired as an instructor. So I started teaching. About a year after that, I had a nice time in that career teaching math and working with students. I was at an event having some meatballs. They were really good meatballs. And I looked up, and there was the president of the college. He was also enjoying the same meatballs that I was enjoying. So we had a little conversation. It was sort of like one of those elevator pitches. And after 3 days, the school called me and offered me a full-time position with benefits, with bells, with whistles, all these wonderful things. And I took it. I was over the moon. I was so excited about it. It was a nice, incredible opportunity, and I ran with it. Not only that, but I started a master's program that would get me further along in that career. So I'm working on all these things, and I'm working in this job for a couple years, and during that time, I actually wrote a book. I wrote my story that I wanted to share. I wrote it out in a book, and some other things started happening to me. I was driving into work, and I had this incredible anxiety sitting on my chest, and I didn't know really where it was coming from. And like I said before, at the beginning, it's so important to know the things that are inside of our hearts and to be acting on the things inside of our hearts and to be living those things in some way. And I had come to realize that I wasn't doing that. The work that I was doing for the college was not fulfilling to me. It was not rewarding to me. In fact, I was really bored. I wasn't enjoying it. But it was a great paying job, the benefits, this, that, right? This security, all of these things that people strive to get. But I realized I wasn't happy. And of that was born this sense of urgency. And I said, I'm not promised tomorrow. I'm not sure what can happen. I need to act on my dreams and on the things that are inside of me. But I didn't know really what was inside of me. So I had to look, and I had to search, and I had to spend some time with myself and my heart and really dig in. And I had to look back on my life and say, what were the things that really got me going? What was my dream when I was young? When I was younger, it was to be a rock star. But what did I love about that? I loved writing. That's why I wrote a book. I also loved being on stage and entertaining, and I loved being in front of people. And I was able to do that when I taught. And when I worked as the success coach in the college, I was able to speak to classes and encourage students to be successful with college. And then I was also able to meet with students, so I loved meeting with people. So I began taking this sort of dream inventory. I loved writing, I loved speaking, I loved meeting with people. And my big dream had always been to live in Los Angeles, California. Again, that sense of urgency that developed in me made me realize I had to jump or stay. And when I was looking at the two decisions, I realized that the jump would take the most faith. It caused the most fear. In my opinion, when we're looking at a decision, the one that's scariest is often the one that life, God, the universe, is asking us to make, because it will take the most faith. And we jump and we pray that the wings grow on the way down. So that's what I did. I jumped. I quit the secure job. I sold everything I owned. I packed my car with clothes, and I drove across the country to live in Los Angeles, California, where I now live. I'm still writing, promoting my book. I speak, and I work as a life coach with people. So all of the things that were inside of my heart, all of the things that were on my dream inventory, I took massive action towards it. Why do I say massive and incredible action? Because it takes massive and incredible action to walk away from a secure position, so we think, and from all of these things, and to just jump headfirst into what we don't know, but what we're pretty sure is calling us. Thank you, guys.